We are Baltimore. We are St. Louis.
This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. We're at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. A showdown in the Central. It's the Cards and Pirates. Two teams that met in the postseason a year ago, and two teams that are off to slower starts than expected here in 2014. And welcome to Cardinals baseball. Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you on this Friday night. And Ricky, I think you look at these two franchises right now out of the gate in 2014. They haven't played exactly the way that they wanted to, but there's a lot of upside with them.
Well, the problem with the Pirates has been their bullpen. Jason Grilli is out. The rest of the guys really not pitching like they did a year ago. And when you look at the Cardinals, it's all about their offense. They just are not producing the way they did last year, especially with runners in scoring position.
And they are two of the best in the National League in all of baseball. Yadier Molina, Andrew McCutchen, the reigning MVP, both in the lineup. And those two, 1 and 2 in batting average in the National League since 12. Baseball next.
On Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. It's Chevy Truck Month. Visit your Mid-America Chevy dealers to take advantage of Truck Month offers on the all-new Chevy Silverado. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. Final stop on a 3-city road trip for the St. Louis Cardinals. The banks of the Allegheny in Pittsburgh. And along with Pat Paris, Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're inside now PNC Park. Beautiful setting for baseball here in the Steel City.
Love this ballpark, and I love the way the Pirates and the Cardinals have turned into a nice rivalry.
Look at the umpires, Jim Wolf, then David Rackley, Bill Welke, and the crew chief is Brian Gorman. He'll be at third base. Mike Matheny, last year defeating Clint Hurdle in the Division Series, winning the National League Championship Series, and taking his team that won 97 in the regular season into the World Series. Meanwhile, on the other side, it is Clint Hurdle. Last time we were here, received a contract extension along with GM Neil Huntington. So he'll be in the fold for quite some time after turning it all around last year.
National League Manager of the Year a year ago for the Pirates, and an outstanding baseball man.
Be interested to see what kind of crowd we get here tonight. We're told near capacity. However, the Pittsburgh Penguins have a chance to eliminate the New York Rangers in the hockey playoffs. That's Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux and Malkin and all these great players over the last 2 decades.
A nice year a year ago for the Pirates, but it's still football 1, hockey 2, baseball 3.
And the Pirates take to the field what has been a disappointing start for the Bucks this year at 14-20. And they're 7.5 back of Milwaukee. The Cardinals starting play tonight at 18-17 and 4 games back of the Brewers. There's a look at Joey Butler. Matt Carpenter, Johnny Peralta, Matt Holliday. Those 3 here in the first. Last series against Atlanta, 5 RBIs. And he's closing in on 1,000 for his career. Then it's Matt Adams, the Pennsylvania native. Yadier Molina, Alan Craig, Peter Borges, Mark Ellis, and the pitcher Michael Wacha. Cardinals will face Francisco Liriano. Boy, did they struggle against this lefty a year ago. He was nasty, but this season a different story.
Well, he was terrific against everybody a year ago. 16-8, and the comeback player of the year for the 2nd time. Off to a rough start this season. This is start number 8 for Liriano, and he is looking for victory number 1. And if you remember, he started against the Cardinals in St. Louis and lasted just 2 innings and had to leave the game. He had dizziness and flu-like symptoms, and he can be very, very tough when right. And I think the key for him is his slider down and is the changeup being chased. The Cardinals lay off those 2 pitches and perhaps a little bit better shot at it.
Longest win drought in his career. Winless in his last 10 starts dating back to last season. Around the Horn is brought to you by Dobbs, Marte, McCutchen, and Tabata in the outfield. Alvarez and Mercer on the left side of the infield. The Pittsburgh native, Neil Walker at second. Ike Davis, the former Met, he's at first. And Tony Sanchez is behind the plate. Liriano on the mound. First innings have been an issue for Liriano this season. ERA of 7 in the first inning.
Well, the other issue that he's dealt with is, and he's been very open about it, he doesn't like pitching in cold weather. And we know all over baseball how cold it's been, at least through the first 6 weeks of the season.
It is warm. It is muggy here tonight as Matt Carpenter leads it off for St. Louis. Cardinals coming off a couple of games and wins against the Atlanta Braves with the bats started to come alive. Had a long conversation with Matt Carpenter at the team hotel today, and we talked about the weather warming up for the St. Louis Cardinals, how that would affect the offense. He's trying for 2, diving in and safe. A leadoff double for Carpenter. He did that just 2 nights ago.
He did it against the Braves and Upton in Atlanta, and now he does it against the Gold Glove center fielder here in Pittsburgh, McCutchen. And that is just reading it right off the bat and thinking double out of the box. That is so much fun to watch. And it's nothing to fault McCutchen about. He ran it down in the gap, but Carpenter just sensed that he wouldn't have time to plant and throw. And here's the close play. Just in time is Matt Carpenter.
6 doubles for Carpenter now. And here's Johnny Peralta in that 2 spot. And the ball scoots away, but Carpenter staying put at second base. Peralta, very good road trip. He's hitting .231 now. With 7 home runs to lead the club. He's driven in 15. Here's a 1-0 pitch outside, and it's 2-0 on Peralta. Cardinals against the Atlanta Braves. What stood out was the fact that not only did they beat a left-hander, but also started driving runs in when they had the chance with runners in scoring position, something they've struggled with this year. 3-0.
Cardinals now 3-5 against left-handers. facing a guy that was one of the National League's toughest left-handers a year ago, and he's had a bit of trouble with the walk this year. 17 walks in 37 innings. That's too many.
Cardinals with runners in scoring position the last 4 games. They are 12 for 33. That's a 364 clip. So a different story considering where they were a year ago. 330 as a team for the entire season. And then starting out the first month very cold, especially away from home.
Really defined the team a year ago, didn't it?
Sure did. 3-1 pitch. Took some off it, and it's a full count on the Cardinal shortstop. Missouri Lottery Foxtrax.
He has the ability to change speeds, and that ball just sinks at the last minute. Very difficult to lay off. He disguises his off-speed pitches very well.
Peralta pops it up to the right side. Long way to go for Tabata. Makes the catch. He's got a strong arm. And staying put at second base, Matt Carpenter. So from 3-0 to 3-2 to not advancing the runner.
You could tell the effort was there by Johnny Peralta. He was trying to hit the ball to right field. And he just didn't get it on the ground or deep enough to right to get Carpenter from second to third. You mentioned the arm of Tabata. You can say that about all the arms in the Pirates outfield.
Wednesday night, Holiday with 3 RBIs. His season total now at 22. That's a team best. And 5 of the 22 coming in the past 3 games. He's now 12 shy of 1,000 for his career. And once he gets to 1,000 RBIs, he'll be just the 17th active player to reach that milestone. One man at second, the other one at the plate. One other one is on deck. And a 1-0 pitch. On the inside corner, 1 ball and 1 strike. Really, as the Mats go, sometimes this offense goes.
Especially this one. I think when he gets on base, the Cardinals win.
1 ball, 1 strike. Taken down and in by Holiday. The Cardinals enjoyed the off day yesterday, and visiting with many of the players, they said, "What did you do?" Slept. These guys are tired. It's not an excuse, but everyone really looking forward to getting through Sunday night and getting back home. 19 of 22 at home starting on Monday. 3-1.
Already noticed in this game that Liriano's controls off a bit, but also Tony Sanchez having a little bit of trouble kind of picking up the ball in the dirt, and Liriano will throw some balls in the dirt, and there's no Russell Martin behind the plate here tonight, and that might be a story in this game. Sanchez has 4 errors. He's only caught 20% of his runners stealing. Not the same with Martin not in.
A walk to Holiday. That was nearly to the backstop. You mentioned it, Rick. The walks have been an issue for Liriano this year. And now the Cardinals have 2 runners on. And here is Matt Adams, who doubled against Mike Minor the other night. So that lefty-lefty matchup that we talk about an awful lot concerning Adams, they feel he's starting to take more productive at bats. Welcome, Matt. The Matt attack. Carpenter, Holiday, and Adams.
Matt Carpenter last series against the Pirates, 4 for 10 and scored 4 runs. Again, him scoring runs. He's got 27 of them on the season. That really helps this offense. Holiday drives them in, and so does the other Matt.
Slippery Rock every time we're in Pennsylvania. You hear that name, that university that Matt Adams went to. A lot of family and friends here tonight.
I must say, a better crowd here than I expected with a hockey game going on in Pittsburgh.
And a big one at that. Chance to eliminate the Rangers. Here's the 0-1 pitch. 0-2. And the NFL draft happening, as we all know, and Rams picking up a Pitt player. Interesting article about him in a local paper. Nice young man. So the focus is also on the NFL draft, which has become an event unto itself,
especially in Pittsburgh.
Adams slowly to the right side. Will step on the bag and turn two. A double play off the back of Matt Adams. Into the glove of Walker and over to Ike Davis. And a look at the lineup that has not produced at the same clip that it did a year ago. Tabata, Walker, McCutchen, then Alvarez, who has tore up Cardinal pitching at different points in time. Marte, Davis, Sanchez, Mercer, the pitcher Liriano, and they'll get Michael Wacha. Michael Wacha, the Kia starter, record not indicative of just how well he has pitched.
He's had very little run support in his last 4 outings. In fact, the Cardinals have lost all 4 of those games. So at 2-3, much better than that number indicates. And Wacha had an incredible game here at PNC Park. That was in the playoffs, 7 1/3 no-hit bid before the home run by Alvarez, and he beat the Pirates in postseason 2-1.
Jose Tabata leads it off. Tabata is hitting .247, no home runs, 6 RBIs.
Ever thought about the fact that Wacha has 6 career major league victories and 4 postseason victories?
Amazing. Mike Matheny was asked when we were around him today down in the dugout about Michael Wacha, and he said, you look at a guy's career, 10-15 years, certain things that they check off, career milestones. He said Walker's already got some of those that guys try their entire career to get to. NLCS MVP and near no-hitters. He was 1 out away from a no-hitter against Washington. The 2-2 is off of Wacha and a base hit for Tabata. You don't care about the base hit. You just worry about Michael Wacha.
That ball was hit hard and looked like it was foot or lower leg somewhere on Wacha, and he's getting attended to on the mound. One more look at it. Maybe his right ankle or somewhere around there. Perhaps
ankle, shin. Yeah.
Looked like above the ankle on that particular replay, and they're going to give him a chance to throw some pitches. Doesn't really seem to be in too much of a distressed situation right here. You just wonder if that has a chance of swelling up at some point. But Walker says he's fine and he's just going to keep going.
Switch hitting Neil Walker, the second baseman of the Pirates. Turned a nice double play off the bat of Adams moments ago. The Pirates and the Cardinals, for these two starters, it's a lack of run support for both of them, Liriano and Michael Wacha.
Got him.
And he is picked off. No, how did they miss that?
Should have.
He must have missed the tag. As the throws certainly beat him. No argument from Matt Adams, no argument from Mike Matheny.
Tabata was surprised on the move and was flat-footed completely.
Walker is hitting .254. By the way, there has only been one stolen base allowed against Wacha in his career. 0 this season. And that spans over 107 innings. So good move, quick to the plate, the combination with Molina. There's a line drive into left center field off the bat of Walker. Tabata around second base. Runners at the corners, nobody out for Pittsburgh.
Leadoff base hit by Tabata, and he barely got set. And then the high throw from Wacha, quick tag. If the throw would have been on the first base side and low, he's out. But by the time Matt Adams got his glove from high left to low right, Tabata was able to barely sneak in. I mean, he was definitely fooled on that move.
Now it's Andrew McCutchen. McCutchen with a high on-base percentage of .431. That's fourth best in the major leagues. All 4 of his home runs have been here at home, where he's hitting .338. One ball, one strike.
Walker's underneath his cutter a little bit. He's thrown 2 of them, and he kind of is pushing it, and the ball's going high and away and not really the exact release point he's looking for. So he's really minus a pitch right now, trying to get out of this jam.
Little tapper, and that's going to be a foul ball. Hit off the foot. Now 2 strikes on McCutchen.
Really learned that from Jack Clark, and being around him talking about hitting. He used to say, look, if a guy's not right with a particular pitch, I just eliminate it. And I know he's got 3 or he's got 4. I'll just eliminate that one, look for the other 3 or the other 2, and it just makes you a better hitter.
With 2 strikes on him, another reason why McCutchen is just so tough. He doesn't give in. Hitting .310. By comparison, Yadier Molina is the best with the Cardinals when he has 2 strikes on him at .267. On the inside corner. And a strikeout of McCutchen, who has words with the home plate umpire Jim Wolf. 1 away, and now it sets up a potential double play. Around the horn, brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Holiday, Borges, and Craig in the outfield. Carpenter, Peralta, Ellis, and Adams along the infield. Molina's behind the plate. Michael Wacha is on the mound.
See with that graphic, the defense, at least in terms of errors, improving for the Cardinals after a rough start.
Alvarez hitting .203. To check on the runner at first, that's Walker. He does have the 8 home runs and 22 driven in. We've seen now a large enough sample size with Pedro Alvarez. 1 year destroys the Cardinals. Following season, so-so. In your opinion, how do you pitch to Pedro Alvarez?
Carefully. And,
obviously.
And it's because and you can strike him out when he's not right. He does strike out a ton, but if you make a mistake with him, he's got tremendous power. And there was a time we saw him a couple years ago where you could throw whatever you want to him, and he was out. But what he's done is he's shrunk those slumps and the time that he is kind of off into a shorter time period, and he's able to make quicker adjustments now.
He's grounded into 3 double plays this year. You mentioned the strikeouts, second most on this team with 31. Starling Marte, more times than not, has been in the leadoff spot for the Pirates. He has struck out 44 times. So they've had to drop him down. 3-0, you know he's got the green light. Force it any bag for Mike Matheny's club. Bases loaded for Marte. Those 44 strikeouts for the man at the plate, third most in the major leagues. He has not grounded into a double play this year. That's a byproduct of his tremendous speed.
He and Matt Carpenter both atop the National League. They have each not hit into a double play in the leadoff spot.
Fastball taken for ball 1. This year, Marte hitting .266, pair of home runs, and he has driven in 7. Good numbers in his career against the Cardinals. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Especially good numbers here at PNC Park against the Cardinals. You know my favorite double play, don't you?
Back to the pitcher, then to Yachty, then to first.
Just easier to write in the scorebook. 1, 2, 3.
Right now, Michael Wacha will take it anyway. Or he'll take a strikeout. Got Marte in the hole, 1 ball and 2 strikes. This is what makes Michael Wacha spectacular in my mind. He's 22 years old, which we forget. And right now, it's the first inning, and he's on the ropes, and he still has the stuff to get out of it and the poise.
Well, the poise, I think, is just as important as the stuff right now.
You bet. Got him, and a strikeout of Starling Marte. 2 outs, both have come via the strikeout.
A little bit better pitch this time. Good sink. That was off the plate. Not much of a different location than the one McCutchen was called out on. It may not have been a strike. So Wacha very close to getting out of a jam here, and he's got to come back in, regroup if he does that, and say, I can't let that happen again.
This is arguably their hottest hitter. Ike Davis, 5 for his last 7. He's reached base safely 8 of his last 13 plate appearances. And he owns a couple of grand slams this season alone. The first pitch taken just a bit inside. The second baseman tonight for the Cardinals is Mark Ellis. He's a good 10-15 yards on the outfield grass. The 1-0 tapped foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Both of those grand slams came in the month of April against the Cincinnati Reds while playing for 2 different teams. First one as a Met, second one as a Pirate.
Two away now on Davis. Can he put him away? And wouldn't this be something for Michael Wacha? Back-to-back singles to start the inning. A strikeout of the reigning MVP, walk to Alvarez, strikeout of Marte, and he's got Ike Davis with 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bases loaded here in the first. And it's a ball on the inside corner. Boy, was that close. 2-2.
Does it get the corner? No, it does not. That's a tough pitch to take right there.
Now Molina wants to talk it over with Wacha. Get on the same page with the count even at 2-2.
Wacha one of those young Cardinal pitchers that likes to work quickly, like Rosenthal, like Manus, like Tyler Lyons, and every once in a while you have to slow down just a little bit.
The 2-2. Fly ball down the left field line. Holiday over. It's fair over the wall. And a ground rule double. He was one pitch away from getting out of this jam. Instead, it's a 2-run lead for Pittsburgh here in the bottom of the first.
So close for Michael Wacha. Pitch location, middle. You notice Wacha's reaction and also Yachty behind the plate. They knew they were just one pitch away from getting out of it. The Cardinals get a break too, and that ball bounces over the left field wall. Otherwise, 3 runs would have scored.
Now Tony Sanchez. That pitch is a strike. Cardinals had a very good opportunity in the top of this inning. Leadoff double by Carpenter, couldn't advance him, left stranded, and the Pirates come back with their chances here in the first, and they cash in. It's 95 miles an hour, and it's no balls and 2 strikes. One and 2. There's also the ability, Rick, of the poise of Wacha that some guys become unnerved, and now all of a sudden you've got to make sure you keep this 2-0.
Yeah, what do you do from here? It's so surprising to see him even in this situation to begin with. You just, it almost seems stunning for Michael Wacha to give up a couple of runs. Of course, this is the big leagues, and it's going to happen, but he's just been so good so many times. To get down 2-0 in the first inning is just surprising.
The 2-2 and a strikeout of Tony Sanchez. He strikes out. The side was 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning. The Hyundai replay. Ike Davis, a ground rule double with the bases loaded to give the Bucks a 2-run lead. Here in Pittsburgh, 2-0 Pirates in the top of the second. Let's check in with Pat Paris. And Pat, Cardinals have made some moves.
Certainly did, Dan. An outfielder from Memphis comes up, but it's not Oscar Taveras yet. It is Joey Butler, who comes up from Memphis after hitting a mere .360. Also hit 4 homers and drove in 20 runs. But he didn't remember as a part-time left fielder because of that crowded young outfield in Memphis. The 28-year-old Joey Butler only got part-time play, but he was so impressive the Cardinals thought maybe he'd be a better fit for the bench role for the Cardinals, and so they send down Randal Grichuk, and twofold theirs because Grichuk's able to get more at bats and continue to develop. They really like his bat and his ability to play the outfield, but for Joey Butler it's a reward for a great start to the 2014 season.
There is no doubt the start for Joey Butler has been spectacular down in Memphis. Thank you, Pat. And it's 3-1 the count here on Yadier Molina with Craig and then Borges. We saw him in spring training. He was picked up early October of last year. Kind of a move that really flew under the radar as the Cardinals saw him with the Texas Rangers. He was called up at the end of last season, played well, then was left unprotected, and at Corpus Christi, which is the AAA affiliate of the Rangers, big numbers down there too. So maybe lightning in a bottle right now for the St. Louis Cardinals.
And he was not starting in the outfield there because of the young outfielders that Pat mentioned, but he was DHing quite a bit. So his numbers really big numbers in AAA. And how do you ignore 360 batting average and 20 RBIs in the early going for Memphis? And he may fit the mold as a guy that can give some power as a pinch hitter, and you mentioned off the bench, and I think it gives Randal Grichuk a chance to get back and play every day for a while again, and he clearly wasn't going to do that here at this level at this time, but eventually he will.
Looking at it from the perspective of this series, it could pay dividends too. Lefty starter right now with Liriano, and then you're talking about two great lefties out of their pen that we've seen. Tony Watson, Justin Wilson. You have that right-handed bat that could come through. Here's Jordy Mercer as Molina is retired for the first out here of the second inning. Alan Craig against a lefty did not play on Wednesday night. The off day yesterday, so 2 days essentially to an extent away from the game. His average at .202. He's 2 for 22 against the Pirates this year. And just when you think he's getting it right, it goes the other way ×2.
Well, I said a couple of weeks ago that he was kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but I think he this last time took 2 steps forward and then 2 steps back again. And you know, hitting is all about timing, and Alan's timing has not been what we're used to seeing from Alan Craig really all season long. Even spring training was not quite right. But he's going to work his way through it. I don't really doubt Alan Craig. I just think he's a hitter. And we saw Johnny Peralta struggle in the early going, and now he's a tough guy to get out. And I think that's going to happen with Alan Craig at some point.
Didn't see signs of this type of start in spring training either. Now, Craig was stinging the ball. We saw the majority of those at bats down in Jupiter.
But he didn't have the home run swing really, and that was something a year ago that there was a lot of talk about because he didn't homer early last year, and then as the summer went on, the power came, and I still think he, despite being a guy that hits the ball well to right field, he's not right unless he's pulling the ball well also.
2-2 the count on Craig.
When he's late like he was on that swing, I think that's a plan B swing, and I like to see some of those plan A swings.
The 2-2. The strikeout of Craig. First of the night for Liriano. Let's turn to Rick Horton's keys to the game. A presentation of Toyota.
A couple of keys to this game one here tonight. Offensive momentum. The Cardinals started some in Atlanta, and the hope is that that would continue. Haven't seen it yet. And don't wake up the Pirates. The Pirates are kind of just in a funk right now, and the worst thing that could happen from the Cardinals' point of view is if they have some kind of an emotional win or some kind of exciting finish, which they had a lot of a year ago that I think defined them as a team. A lot of walk-off victories. Stay away from those.
The feel-good story of baseball a season ago, no doubt, the Pittsburgh Pirates snapping 20 consecutive losing seasons. And here's Peter Borges, and with what he did in Atlanta, you would have to think that he may see some playing time over the weekend, more so than what we felt a week or even 2 weeks ago.
Well, if Ike Davis is the hottest Pirate, then you'd have to say Peter Borges is the hottest Cardinal. 5 for his last 8. And I think he's really slowed some of his lower body movement down. He seemed very uncomfortable in the box. Now he seems much more solid with his lower half and more relaxed.
Misses in, and it evens it up at 2-2. For Alan Cray, that's now his 7th strikeout against Liriano. He's 1 for 13 against this starter. The 2-2. Borges puts it in play to short. Mercer steps, throws, and fires a strike over to Davis. Cardinals go in order 1, 2, 3. PNC Park last time made that start here against the Pirates. Postseason play with the season on the line. And there's a strike to Jordy Mercer, the 8th place hitter. Michael told me that Chris Carpenter had a huge influence on that start. He felt the day before the Cardinals were losing the game, and he said, you realize, and he went up to him and sat next to him. He said, you realize the season is going to be on your shoulders tomorrow. He said, listen to this crowd. He said, they're in a frenzy right now. They're going to be going all over you tomorrow. And Waka said it turned from being nervous to, I can't wait. And the chants of Waka, Waka, Waka. And he said he just was able to thrive on that and use what Carpenter said. And obviously I'm paraphrasing the conversation, but he said it took a few innings of Carpenter just in his ear saying, you better love this because you're going to be the guy for many years, not just tomorrow, in times like this.
Well, Carpenter had such a great influence on the young pitchers for the Cardinals a year ago, and really for years prior to that. Such a competitor, and there's such a fine line, isn't there, between being nervous and being excited?
Absolutely.
And he's trying to channel that into the right way, and evidently it worked. October 7th, Mr. Waka was pretty good.
And a base hit on a pitch that was up. The 4th hit allowed. And here's the game that we're talking about. Game 4 of the division series. A win, and you send it back to St. Louis with Wainwright on the mound. And Waka shut down this crowd early on, and that was such a key. They were in a frenzy. They were going crazy.
They were happy to be in postseason, to be sure. 9 strikeouts for Waka that October 7th. And one of the most impressive games you're ever going to see a young pitcher pitch as a rookie in the playoffs.
Popped up, and the catch made by Yadier Molina, avoiding Liriano, and then making the catch. What a play.
That sure wasn't easy. Here's the pop-up. Molina not sure at first where it is. Well, it's right where Mr. Liriano is. Get out of my way. One more look at it. Popped up in the air. Yadi has to go through Liriano. Now, Liriano does not have to give way. He does not have to allow Yadi passage through the batter's box. He can just stand still if he wants to, which is basically what he did. And Yadi, of course, has the ability to push him out of the way, too.
Here's Tabata with one out. And a cutter at 90 miles an hour in there for his strike.
So no 2 minutes for roughing there.
No. Tabata singled first time up, and that was off of Michael Wacha, off his right shin or ankle. Obviously seems to be okay, and it's 0-2.
I mentioned last inning, Dan, the working quickly for Wacha, and Mike Matheny and Derek Lilliquist have been trying to help Tyler Lyons, who likes to work quickly. They said they literally had to say to him, when things go bad, take your time. Now, I don't mean walk around the mound for 5 minutes, but every once in a while you have to restart.
Could it be two? Ellis, Peralta to first, and Adams can't come up with it. So they get the lead runner. That's Mercer. Fielder's choice 4-6.
The low throw would have been close anyway. Matt Adams has been pretty good at picking those. But the point about working quickly is there are times where you have to kind of abandon that when things start to spiral negatively, and you just have to take a deep breath, think about something else, and then come back and start again. And they're trying to teach the young pitchers like Seth Maness to do that. If things are going badly, don't just keep banging your head against the wall. Stop and think about it.
A strike to Walker. Single to left center. Back in the first. The Pirates at 14-20, a team that goes to the playoffs last year, Rick, and this year searching for some kind of traction, get some wins going, and they miss A.J. Burnett. And a real problem has been the fact that their starting pitching has given Clint Hurdle a total of 4 wins so far in 6 weeks of play. 4.
They're missing their bullpen not being as sharp as they were a year ago, too, and it's kind of a domino effect, really.
The fly ball lifted to center. Borges, a late break. Now he picks it up, and he makes the catch. So Walker is 1 for 2. The Pirates have stranded 3. Ellis, Wacha, Carpenter coming up. You demand. Night at the ballpark Wednesday, May 21st. Cardinals and Diamondbacks. And fans who purchased that Chuck Berry themed ticket receive their own exclusive Chuck Berry bobblehead. So get your theme tickets right now at cardinals.com/theme. There's about 30 different theme nights throughout the season that aren't on the schedule that maybe you have at home. Just go to the Cardinals website and they have got you covered. From gardening to Chuck Berry to Boys and Girls Scouts. If you're involved with it, they've got it.
Think we can get Jim Hayes to sing Johnny Be Good in the pregame or postgame or in-game? I think that'd be terrific.
Little known fact, Jim loves to sing. And another aspect of that, he's the only one that loves to hear it.
I hate to agree with you, but I'm going to.
Here's Mark Ellis. 2-2. Ellis is one of the only Cardinals that has pretty good numbers against Liriano. 8 for 14 with a home run. Liriano 4-1 in his career against the Cardinals.
Ellis 0 for his last 8, and he's one of those guys that just started to swing the bat well. You thought maybe he was kind of getting out of it, and you know the early funks that we saw from Ellis and from Borges and from Peralta, you know, they're starting to come out of it and starting to make contributions. We certainly saw that from Ellis. He's got a much better idea right now.
Hit on a play to T-shirt Friday here at PNC Park. So they've got the yellow T-shirts. By the way, they're hosting their first Sunday night game ever at this ballpark this Sunday. Ever. At PNC Park in the first time since 1996. Jammed him. It's popped up, and that'll find the seats. It'll be 8 Eastern Sunday night, 7 back home. And we'll have the game for you tomorrow on Fox Sports Midwest, ESPN on Sunday night. Then the Cubbies in town on Monday. And a strikeout of Ellis. He knew it. 2 tonight for Liriano. AT&T fan photos. Send us your photos using the hashtag STLFanPhoto. Tweet it to us, and we just might get to that photo and show it later in our telecast. Michael Wacha looking for his first hit of the season. Mets pitching staff got their first hit tonight of the entire year. And that's something that the Cardinals have been very good with, in particular Adam Wainwright. A couple of hits the other night as he picked up win number 6, the first National Leaguer to get to 6 wins.
Wainwright telling us in spring training that his plans were to win the Silver Slugger Award. One thing to plan on it. Kind of helps if you have a little ability to go along with that, which Wainwright certainly has, but he's trying to get all the hitters to just shorten up on their swing a little bit. We've seen Lance Lynn improve. Shelby Miller has improved.
See Lynn tomorrow against Edinson Volquez. Shelby Miller against Charlie Morton. That'll be on Sunday for game number 3. Then it's back home to St. Louis. Here's a 2-2. On the inside corner, and a strikeout of Michael Wacha. So Liriano has struck out 2 in a row, 3 of the past 4. And tomorrow it's an MLB doubleheader on Fox Sports 1. Giants and Dodgers. Then the Indians take on the Rays. Action starts at 2:30 on Fox Sports 1. Streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Here's Matt Carpenter.
How is it streaming?
Live. Right on Fox Sports Go.
You just read that promo with such enthusiasm.
Oh, absolutely. You got to get fired up.
How about getting some hits?
That would be nice. Cardinals have 1 hit, and it was Carpenter to start the game.
We talked a little bit about the hardware that the Pirates won a year ago. The comeback player of the year was Liriano. Manager of the year was Hurdle. MVP, their center fielder, McCutchen. But I think the other kind of award that really isn't a real award is the kind of the locker room MVP for Clint Hurdle, and that was Russell Martin. He really did something to make this team better.
They say that Carpenter went. Strikes out the side here in the third. McCutchen, Alvarez, Marte due up this inning against Michael Wacha. McCutchen struck out with 2 runners on, looking back in the first. And Michael struck out the side, but did allow a bases loaded double to Ike Davis. That's all the scoring tonight. 2-0 Pittsburgh.
A little surprised the Cardinals off to a slow start offensively, and we talked about the momentum that we'd hope would have carried over past the off day from Atlanta. Didn't get a sense, Dan, that there was something different about that last game in Atlanta? Like that was finally the team doing what they'd expected to do, and maybe it was Borges contributing, maybe it was Peralta swinging the bat, but there just seemed to be a looser, more energetic team and clubhouse and flight to Pittsburgh.
A lot of that is due to the fact that Wainwright was so good, clearly. Borges hitting, as you mentioned, and the Cardinals doing it against a left-handed starter. You know, the Cardinals came into that game hitting 199 against left-handed pitching. Now they've moved up to 225 after what they did against Minor. Still only 3 home runs this season off of lefties. That's up the middle and a base hit over the second base bag. Now the speed of McCutchen comes into play here at the bottom of the third.
4 for 4 in stolen bases. And you're more apt to run a little bit when you've got a little bit of a lead. You feel like you can take a chance. Alvarez does strike out a lot, but I wouldn't run with McCutchen with Alvarez at the plate. I'd let him get a chance at a couple of RBIs with the big fly if I were Pittsburgh. You don't want to compromise the swing of a power hitter.
Michael Wacha has a very quick move, athletic. His feet for a big guy, nearly 6'7". Big shift is on here for Alvarez. Cardinals put Carpenter on the second base side.
When a team is hitting well, Dan, back to the comment about the left-handers, you get the sense that it doesn't really matter whether the guy's left-handed or right-handed. Doesn't matter. The Cardinals beat Clayton Kershaw twice. in the playoffs a year ago. I mean, if you're going to be scared about a pitcher in the major leagues, it's him. And so I think when you're winning, you just don't really care.
An edge to the team too.
Yeah. I mean, you don't want to come to the park and say, it's Jose Fernandez today. It's Liriano today. I mean, that thought process becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, for offensive problems. And I think you've got to kind of not worry about that. Just do what you do. Easier said than done, of course.
I get the feeling in the first 6 weeks that pitching hasn't been this good in a long, long time. Now, Colorado as a team is hitting above 300. The Cardinals came in at 248, which is actually in the upper half of the National League. Strikeouts are way up as they back Alvarez off the plate. 2 balls and 1 strike. But the pitching, and the young pitching in particular, guys like Walker, some of the others like a Garrett Cole here in Pittsburgh, are arriving on the scene, and the grace period for them to learn just goes away. They just start to dominate.
Young pitching is up. Velocity is up. Tommy John surgeries are up.
And the third way up. The 2-2. Alvarez hits into a double play. That's 5-6-3. That's Carpenter on the second base side of the bag. That may have been off the glove of Waka. May have gotten a little piece of it, but regardless, it turns into a double play.
If he did, it may be the first 1-5-6-3 double play in history.
Exactly.
Nice turn, plenty of time.
Here's Marte, who struck out swinging back in the first.
There's a team here tonight that has a young player in AAA, and we won't mention his name, but he's a guy that is hitting over 390.
Borges can't find it. Now back near the wall. Leaps and got it. What a play. Peter Borges in right center field. Couldn't find it. The nighttime sky here in Pittsburgh locates it. Then all the way against the wall, leaping a la Jimmy Edmonds. 2-0 Pittsburgh. Moments ago, Peter Borges.
And Borges, for a moment, did not pick that baseball up. You were right on it. He had kind of the wide eyes and the arms outstretched. Help me, help me. And he picked up the baseball, made a nice play up against the center field wall.
6-game hitting streak on the line tonight for Peralta. Now you can make it 7. Hitting .340 over the last 11 games. So leadoff base hit. Tying run will come to the plate. And a reminder that baseball is brought to you by AT&T. Watch live TV on your device virtually anywhere with AT&T Uverse, mobilizing your world. By Schnucks, your neighborhood hometown grocer for 75 years. And find a helpful servicing steel dealer near you. Visit steeldealers.com.
He lost the ball on our billboards.
Was able to find it. What a play. Now, we've been told about his defense. And Holiday takes a ball. Even that we haven't seen. You know, the hitting was magnified. The numbers you can see. Okay, the guy is 1 for his last whatever. And it stands out. But even at times defensively, he looked a little shaky this year.
Yeah, we've seen kind of the athleticism from him defensively. But he's dropped the ball. He almost dropped the second one. And, you know, I think there's something about a guy that just doesn't feel comfortable. It's going to affect every aspect of his game. And he just seems to be a lot more relaxed now and kind of has the weight off his shoulders of trying to impress a new group of teammates in a new town.
1-1 pitch to Holiday. That's tapped foul for strike 2. Matt, first time up, walked, and then erased on an inning-ending double play back in the first. Peter Borges, if you go back to his time with the Angels, made one of the plays that they talk about as being one of the greatest ever in center field. It was at Camden Yards in Baltimore, and he is about waist high in the top of the wall to take a home run away. It's just an unbelievable play. They said that not necessarily to that degree, but he does have a lot of great plays that he's made. Base hit into right. Peralta will stop at second. And back-to-back hits for the Cardinals to start things off here in the 4th.
The Matt Holliday spray chart would have to show you that he does this a lot. If you've watched Matt Holliday play since being a Cardinal, you see with a runner at first base, he hits that hole on the right side. Pirates are defending for a double play, but that big hole wide open, and Holliday's not afraid to take it the other way.
Now it's Adams, and Matt grounded into a 4-3 double play to end a threat in the first inning. An inning in which Liriano has an ERA that is awfully high, and they let him off the hook.
Talked about one of these teams having a superstar in AAA hitting .393, who's a guy that can be an impact player as an outfielder, and I'm not even talking about the Cardinals. I'm talking about Gregory Polanco for the Pirates. So each team kind of waiting and waiting and waiting for the right time to bring up their high-profile AAA star.
Would it surprise you, by the way, that Matt Adams has walked a total of 3 times?
Yes.
3 times. No intentional walks this year.
You are full of surprises, Dan.
Oh, just wait. You better duck.
And the reason it surprises me, yes, he has a big strike zone. You'd think pitchers would be very careful with him at times and pitch around him, and he seems to have a pretty good understanding of the zone. He'll chase some with off-speed pitches.
Here's a 1-2. I know on your Rick's radar we're going to get into the Gregory Polanco situation. Very interesting, and it does tie into business in baseball and potential contract that was turned down, and why is he not here?
5-tool player, left-handed batter.
Strikeout of Adams. 5 tonight for Liriano. Every game you can see it on your mobile devices, iPad. Cardinals.com for details. MLB.tv. Here's Yadier Molina. Michael Wacha gets a total of 2.55 runs of support per game. 9th lowest among major league starters, and so far Cardinals held off the board midway through this game. Last year he received just over 5 runs per game. One ball, one strike.
Yachty's just 4 for 27 on this road trip. Average still over 300. Still a dangerous RBI threat.
Rain starts to fall here at the ballpark. Some of the fans trying to find cover.
They're scurrying, aren't they?
Sure are. Inside to Yadier Molina. Two of the game's best and MVP candidates year in and year out, McCutchen and Molina. The 2-1 pitch. Fly ball into right. And the catch is made by Tabata. Quickly back into the infield. Runners stay put at first and second. Brings in Craig.
Good swing. Line drive. Good pitch.
A steady rain, but more of just a nuisance, not something to where at this point you would stop the game, you wouldn't think.
Well, I was looking at the stands here and I thought either the hockey game was starting or it had started to rain. I wasn't sure which.
Or they announced that you were signing autographs at Gate B. Just running to it.
It's my third thought.
You know how much I love to make sure that people know that you're a World Series champion.
Strangers on the elevator.
In L.A.
Oh.
I had to tell them, hey, have you guys heard of Rick Horton? Yeah, I think so. Well,
Yeah.
1988 world champ right here. Get your autographs. Driven, left center. McCutchen back at the wall. Gone! Alan Craig, a 3-run homer. His 4th of the season, and the Cardinals go on top. Alan Craig busts out in a big way. And the Cardinals go on top here in Game 1.
We talked about plan A earlier. Driving the ball with authority and pulling it. And that's exactly what Craig did off of Liriano. Fun to watch.
Driven right center off the bat of Peter Borges. That's off the wall. Peter is flying. He's at second. On his way to third. Sliding in safely with a triple. Peter Borges, how about that speed? My goodness. A 3-run homer. And now a triple for Borges. This is more like it.
2 swings. Alan Craig first. 3-run home run into the Cardinals bullpen. Borges the other way. Not many people would have made it to third on that drive.
It is fun to watch guys that can have speed in this game that it just is eye-popping. Peter Borges is one of those guys. We haven't seen it enough, but at times it just stands out.
When he was rounding second, it was almost like the guy who's a great shooter taking a 3-point shot. You're saying, no, 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 no. Way to go.
Nice job, right?
Nice job. I didn't think there was a chance of him making it to third. Not with McCutchen's arm.
And the walk Ellis here. Mentioned earlier the very good numbers he has against Liriano. He'll deal with Michael Wacha, who's now been giving a 1-run lead here at PNC Park. Last season, runs allowed at home, total 12. This season, that includes tonight, it's at 17.
So perhaps he doesn't like the cold
or the rain. Has to be the optimum weather to make sure that he's at his best, huh? The crew chief is Brian Gorman. He's down at third. And watching him a couple of times, he's been looking back at the grounds crew, and now it's gotten very windy, and rain has picked up just a bit. Down the right field line, and that is just foul. My guess is, Rick, is that they'll get through this half inning, and then we may see the tarp on the field.
I would think so, and maybe
right now.
Right now.
Yep.
And are we sure that ball was foul?
And they call out the grounds crew, and this is the lightest it has been since it started raining. Now it's dropped in temperature considerably. The wind is whipping right now. And the fans don't mind because they'll go watch the Penguins. Weather will clear up, then they'll come back out and watch some baseball. So it is a Helitech rain delay. Yet again, Helitech sponsoring our rain delays. Can't thank them enough for their sponsorship over the years and what they've meant to Cardinals baseball. Bill Courtney and the gang at Helitech. So we're in a rain delay. Strike one on Michael Wacha with runners at first and third. And Alan Craig touch them all with a 3-run shot. Rain falling down. That ball falling in the bullpen. Of no balls and one strike on Michael Walkup. So we have a rain delay, and I'm not sure we necessarily needed to put the tarp on the field, but grounds crew and the umpire did. And the Cardinals have runners now at second and third as Mark Ellis just takes second base. Liriano didn't even give him a look. Base hit could make it a 5-2 game. Walker hits it off the end of the bat to short. Jordy Mercer with it, and he makes the play. The Cardinals pick up a 3-run home run from Allen Craig. They strand two. Baseball is back. The game summary. Walker, the 3 innings, gave up 2 runs in the first. Craig, 3-run homer. Liriano, his line, and Ike Davis, the 2-run double back in the first. Let's take a look at Rick's radar as Walker gets set to go here for this bottom of the 4th.
We talked about this a little bit earlier in the telecast. The fact that the Pirates were trying to buy out arbitration from their young star Gregory Polanco before Dan one day in the big leagues. The Pirates realize that he's such a superstar, and I just wonder whether or not that might become a trend of the future, that you take a minor league can't-miss guy, and the reason they do that, they don't want their clock to start so early at the big league level. They can become a Super 2. They can go to arbitration earlier, and their salary skyrockets, but you can buy them out of that arbitration by giving them a long-term deal. And I think some young players are going to bite on that, and the Pirates tried to get Polanco to sign a long-term deal, and if he had signed it, he'd be here right now.
There's no question.
He may have made the team out of spring training.
He would have been here on opening day.
Then the right fielder.
Then you're talking about the production that they're missing in right field, potentially going to the bat of Polanco. Who knows what he would have done once he's here, as Ike Davis looks at a strike. And a lot of fans are frustrated because the report was a 7-year deal with 3 club options, so potentially a 10-year deal for a player that never played 1 minute in the big leagues, but yet the quote-unquote can't-miss prospect. And fans are upset, saying, well, if he's good enough to get that kind of deal, why isn't he here now? Is it because of money? And I think most people would say, yeah, that's probably the case.
It'll cost the Pirates a lot more than $10 million if he becomes the star that they think he's going to become. And I think he and his agent knew that.
Polanco's only 22. The spin right now from the club is that, well, not quite ready. And you look at the numbers that he's put up down in the minor leagues, you would say, yes, he is. And it's magnified because of the lack of production that they've had from their right field spot.
Complicated kind of formula to figure out time of service that would make a player have his salary escalate, but you can estimate mid-June as a time where we might see him.
And a strikeout from Michael Walkup. Walker has struck out 4. Let's take a look as he climbs the ladder a bit on Ike Davis, the Chevy Foxtrots.
2-run double for Davis, who was on a pitch down in the middle of the plate. This one up the ladder. Be interesting as Walker gets loose again and throws these middle innings, whether he will have a better breaking pitch than he had before the rain delay. He kind of spinning his curveball, and his cutter was a little off. The velocity certainly there tonight for Walker.
Here's Tony Sanchez. There's a good cutter at 92. Sanchez struck out back in the first. Astros, by the way, tried a similar maneuver with George Springer, who they eventually have brought up, but offered him a 7-year contract before he even stepped 1 foot in the big leagues. So we'll see how it plays out. Here's a 2-1. And Walker has really picked up the pace here in the bottom of the 4th, too. That's another thing that's stood out about him. Always a quick worker. One of the fastest on this staff, if not in all of baseball. But when you're dealing with runners on, which he did in the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd, that pace does have to slow down a bit. Here's a ground ball. Gloved by Peralta. 2 down. 50th anniversary for Emo's Pizza and the Cardinals' 1964 World Championship team. To celebrate both, Cardinals will take on the Yankees. They'll come to town May 26th, the 27th, and the 28th. And still, there are great seats remaining at Cardinals.com. I've talked to a lot of fans, and they said, well, I couldn't get seats because it's a sold-out series. That is not the case. There are seats available for all 3 games. And that Monday game is the replica ring giveaway. It's a wearable 1964 championship ring. Here's Jordy Mercer. And I can't wait to see the Yankees in St. Louis and a final time in person to see Derek Jeter.
One of the real stars of the game over the last really generation.
This is popped up. Looks to be playable. Adams makes the catch. The top of the lineup coming up. Carpenter, Peralta, and that man, Matt Holliday. Okay, thank you, Jim. Guys look fabulous in the studio at Ballpark Village. And a strike to Matt Carpenter. Called out on strikes back in the third. Was upset about that. It was a check swing. They appealed down to the third base umpire, Brian Gorman. Rung him up. He's also doubled what looked to be a routine single, but hustling out of the box. Turned it into 2. Left stranded back in the first. We're in the 5th. Cardinals lead it 3-2.
Pretty impressive answer for the Cardinals in that 4th inning. Alan Craig with the 3-run shot. Just when you think maybe the Cardinal offense is not going to show up here tonight. Really had a terrific inning. Peralta, Holiday, Craig, and Borges all with hits.
Well, growing up, Matt Carpenter idolized Lance Berkman. Talking with him today, how often do you visit with Lance? I asked him. He said, you know, we still text an awful lot. They share a financial advisor as Carpenter grounds it to second. And there's one away. And he said to me, Rick, the biggest thing that he picked up from Lance Berkman is how to deal with the media. You know, be a leader. Be a guy that is accessible when things are going poor for the club. And give the media something to chew on. You know, don't just give them the standard, well, we're giving them 110%, trying our best, and yada, yada, yada.
Well, frankly, what you tell a young player, if you hide from the media, they're going to think you have something to hide.
Exactly.
And they're going to come find you.
And Matt has become, to follow up on what he was talking about, as Peralta in the hole 0-1. Matt truly has become one of the leaders of this club in terms of his play, but certainly how he deals with the media and being one of the voices of this team.
Experience at the big league level is low. He hasn't been around very long, but he's kind of an old player, despite the lack of experience at this level. He signed late, missed a year from being hurt, and
5-year college player.
Played 5 years, finished, and actually got his degree.
Well, we should have figured it was going to be a rain delay because Michael Wacha is on the mound. And I bring that up. Wacha, this is just amazing. Passed along from Brian Bartow of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's had rain delays totaling 3 hours and 51 minutes in 3 of his 8 starts. And it is always a concern to see how a pitcher comes back after sitting down for an extended period of time.
Well, you worry about the long ones, and he had a very long one early in the season. Nothing seems to faze Michael Wacha.
And it's a walk to Peralta. Cardinals Kids airs every Saturday morning right here on Fox Sports Midwest. And this week, Pooches at the ballpark. Also see how helicopters save lives at Cardinal Glennon. Dr. Fredbird in the house. Andy Bennis, Professor U-Man. Cardinals Kids tomorrow at 11. Third walk issued by Liriano. One of those intentional. They check on Johnny Peralta.
John Hewlett's been around a long time, hasn't he?
PA voice of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Does a great job, and he's been around, I know, since the 80s, maybe early 80s. And he just has that voice when you hear it. You just think Cardinal baseball, and put a lot of hours in at Busch Stadium. He does a great job.
Mike Kelly did that, the voice of the Missouri Tigers. Joel Myers also was a PA voice at one time. Inside to Holiday, who has been on base twice. He has walked. That was in the first. And singled and scored in the fourth.
Think about the complexity of that job and how it's changed over the years. It used to be now batting Matt Holliday. Well, not anymore. All the pregame ceremonies and the walk-up music for players, and there's a lot going on in ballparks now, and you have to be pretty much aware of your circumstances.
Turn him loose on 3-0. Or let him walk. Back-to-back walks. Liriano still trying to find traction this season against the rest of the league and against the Cardinals. It's a bit surprising.
He was so good last year, and particularly against the Cardinals. And what is a bit surprising about Liriano, if he wins this game today, he'll have more wins than he did last year on this date, because he didn't make his first start until May 11th. So think about the year he had at 16-8 and how good he was, but he didn't make his first major league start until May 11th.
Broke his arm, had to rework his deal. He had signed a 2-year deal, and then on Christmas Day broke his non-throwing arm playing with his kids on Christmas morning. And he's one of a long list as Gomez is getting loose of reclamation projects that the Pirates have taken a chance on. Jason Grilli, Mark Melanson, Charlie Morton, Jeff Locke, Genmar Gomez, and the biggest of them is right here, Liriano. Been a tough night so far for Matt Adams. Came up with 2 runners on in the first, grounded into a double play. 2 runners on in the fourth and struck out. But he has said, Liriano, that if he didn't break his arm, he would not have been the pitcher that he was a year ago. Allowed him to have an extended spring. They reworked his mechanics. And the biggest aspect of what they've talked about with him, Ray Searage, the pitching coach, and a host of others behind the scenes, is just staying back. And you were a pitching coach at one point. You pitched in the majors for a long time. And Adams hits a liner out to center. Catch is made. They wanted him to stay back, front shoulder closed, and they saw that that was taking away from his movement on his pitches.
I played with Ray Searage in 2 different uniforms for the White Sox and the Dodgers, and Ray was actually a minor league pitcher with the Cardinals for years, and that staying back, you know, I could picture conversations about that even in his playing days, but he really understood pitching well. He did not have the greatest of arms, but he just kind of knew how to make it work. And then you kind of get the desire when your career is over to start extending that to other people and help make them better.
2 outs, 2 on for Yadier Molina. Bounced, and what a play by the catcher Sanchez to keep that in front. At PNC last year, Liriano was 8-1 with a 1.36 ERA in 12 starts. And coming into this season, in 15 career starts at this ballpark, had lost only 1 time. One-oh pitch. But they talked about 2 things with Liriano, according to Ray Searage, the pitching coach of the Pirates. Improve his rhythm and his control. And tonight, rhythm hasn't quite been there. He's walked 4, 1 intentional, so control has not by his standards been there. Two balls and 1 strike. Two balls and 2 strikes.
The difference between being ahead and behind is incredibly important for a guy like Liriano. If he gets ahead, he has pitches to finish you off with. If he gets behind, you tend to lay off those pitches and he walks you.
Mercer will go across the diamond. Cardinals have stranded 5. We're midway through 5 from PNC Park in Pittsburgh. 3-2.
Things that Michael does are just uncanny for a guy who's 22 years old to be in control of his body as he is, in command of his pitches with the confidence he has and the poise out there. He's got the whole package. I just can't look forward to pitching with him more than I already do. I mean, I got 5 more years here at least, and he's going to be one of the guys I look forward to playing with the most.
Always interesting to hear the thoughts of Adam Wainwright, guest of Pat Paris on the pregame show, talking about Michael Wacha. Adam picking up victory number 6 Wednesday night down in Dixie. 1 ball, 1 strike on the hitter, Brent Morrow, who is a pinch hitter now for Liriano. So his night is through. Morrow was just called up from AAA after the club optioned Phil Irwin to AAA on Thursday. At 215, 6 doubles, a home run. He's an infielder. Did have 25 RBIs. Played at third, second, also a little shortstop. He's claimed by the Pirates off of waivers from Toronto. That was back in late February, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. So Liriano out of this game, and Cardinals the rest of the way in game 1. We'll see the bullpen of the Pirates. The 2-2. And a strikeout of Morrow. That's 5 tonight for Michael Wacha. Top of the lineup, Tabata. 1 for 2. Line to pitch off of Michael Wacha. First time up as he spins away from strike 1. Michael Wacha, 97 swing and misses this year. 7th most in the major leagues. And this is impressive company, Rick. Ahead of him are Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer, Jose Fernandez, R.A. Dickey, Felix Hernandez, and David Price. Next, Michael Wacha.
Some of the game's best, and as we looked at Wainwright watching Michael Wacha and talking about how much he wants to play with him, you know, it's some level you're teaching him because he's young, but you're also in awe of him. And you get that when you hear Wainwright talk about Michael Wacha. He has respect for his ability, but he understands he's still a kid. 22 years of age.
When we're around him, it doesn't seem that way.
It doesn't.
At all.
It doesn't, but he is.
Yep.
And so, you know, Wainwright was like that when he was younger. He's mature, more mature than most people his age, but you still don't have the experience of how to deal with failures at the big league level, how to deal with the pressures and the distractions and all the things that come with being a big leaguer. The money. The fame. It's helpful to have a wise veteran kind of help you navigate through some of those things.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Tabata lifts it out to left center. On the move, Holiday. He won't get it. Over his head. And a ground rule double. That's the second ground rule double off a Pirate bat in this ball game. 1-out double for Tabata brings in Neil Walker. Mother's Day offer at Busch Stadium. Legends Club tickets for $89. Full buffet, complimentary beer and soda. You can find that at Cardinals.com. And that's all inclusive weekend tickets in May, June, and July. If you look at the Cardinals website, they have field box seats for the upcoming Cub Series as low as $22. All inclusive tickets as well have been lowered for that upcoming series, and big crowds expected for the homestand. How about that, though? $22. Go see the Cubs and Cardinals field box. Walker is 1 for 2. He is singled, also flied out to center.
And you're going to have a lot of happy Cardinals knowing that starting on Monday, 19 out of 22 games will be at home.
Fans don't want to hear it, and I don't blame them, but because these guys are pros, they're paid a lot of money. This is what they're paid to do. It's their job, but you want to be home.
Well, I think fans should want to hear that the Cardinals want to play in front of their home fans, and it's not an excuse. It's just a reality.
Line shot out to left. Holiday gets it on a hop. Here comes a throw to the plate. Molina was moving up on the infield grass, had to come back. And scoring on the play, Tamina to tie it up at 3-3 for Walker, RBI number 19.
I think there was some indecision on that play in a couple fronts of whether or not to try to get the runner at the plate to begin with. I think it first started with Holiday, and he makes the throw home and over the cutoff man's head. So Molina, who had tried to come up, then thought, well, maybe I do have a chance of getting him. So he backs up. I don't think he would have had him anyway.
Derek Lilliquist out to visit with McCutchen at the plate. By the way, the point I was trying to make was not using the road as an excuse because it's part of the game.
No, it's just, my point is that it's just nice to be home, period. Without winning or losing.
Yep.
Got these new Cardinals that are not even really settled as St. Louisans yet. It's nice to be home.
McCutchen tonight single to center field back in the third and was called out on strikes. Questionable call with 2 runners on back in the first inning. Go ahead run at second. Ooh, what a rip there by McCutchen. My goodness.
We've seen some pretty good swings against Michael Wacha today. A couple of the outs too, thinking of Neil Walker's long out in the second inning. Ball he really hit hard. Got 2 hits his other plate appearances.
Oh, 2. McCutchen, Molina, Braun, Posey, Votto, highest batting average since 2012 in the National League. All MVP candidates. Some have won the MVP. Posey and the Giants, by the way, have overtaken the Brewers for the best record in the National League. Brewers expect Ryan Braun to come off the DL shortly, dealing with a sore thumb.
Giants a bit of a surprise.
There's a strikeout of McCutchen. By the way, they moved Joey Votto tonight to the cleanup spot in the lineup for struggling Cincinnati club. Strikeout number 6 for Michael Wacha.
Second time he's gotten Andrew McCutchen. First time down, this time up.
How much will Alvarez see in this at bat to hit with Marte on deck, who has struck out a ton this year? 45 times as Pedro Alvarez calls time. Had a double play off his bat back in the third. It went 5-6-3 on the shift.
You're a little teased by the fact that he's 0 for his last 12.
The first pitch is a strike. You do play with fire when you decide to pitch around a hitter. Potentially, then you open up what could be a big inning.
More often than not, I'm against putting hitters on for the reason you just mentioned. Not always, but I think that is a dangerous game to play.
A breaking ball, and it's 0-2. Well, you've got a cutter, mid-90s fastball, changeup, one of the best in the game, and an improving breaking ball. What's he come with here on Pedro Alvarez? 0-2. Maybe bounce one, see if he'll chase.
Don't throw a strike.
Good pitch.
Backed him off the plate. Now you'd think changeup down and away. Now Alvarez, I've seen him hit changeups. He's not a bad off-speed hitter. More so when it's hung. Changeup in the dirt.
with the run Texas A&M has had. Guys like Michael Wacha taking center stage in the Fall Classic, and pretty good football player named Manziel. Not much attention paid to him. There's the changeup.
Good spot.
I asked Michael, I said, you know him pretty well? He said, yeah. But consider what Johnny Manziel, the spotlight he's been under, and you hear about all the late night antics and certain things, TMZ kind of stuff that goes around with him. Well, Michael Wacha, same age, and it's like he's a 40-year-old man out there.
Different persona. Huh?
Yes. Here's a 1-2. Blocked. 2-2. Outfield is straight away. Pulled foul. They've got Adams right on the line there at first. Very well could be the final inning for Michael Wacha. At 90 pitches, you had the rain delay. Disrupt the rhythm in terms of getting in the flow of the game.
When you have a rain delay, you have to add pitches. You don't subtract them. It's not as if he's gotten more rest. It's, I think you get more hesitant about a pitcher going over 100.
And a strikeout of Alvarez. So Wacha has struck out 7 tonight through 5. Tabata scores the tying run. The Hyundai. It's Lynn and Volquez, and Rick's going to tell you about the matchup.
Looking forward to this matchup, Dan. Lance Lynn has been a guy who's been a winner with the Cardinals. Volquez, we saw him good early in the season, but he's been struggling of late. In fact, the 3 starters that we are seeing this weekend have all been struggling.
In terms of Volquez, what's the pitch that really has separated him?
Well, he has a nasty changeup and always has been a guy that throws hard. Jose Oquendo said in spring training, I'd like to get Edinson Volquez on my team. But he's a Pirate, and so is Jenmar Gomez, our first reliever here today. Our Chevy call to the bullpen, 10 appearances for Gomez. We've seen him pitch well against the Cardinals this year, a guy that's been both a starter and a reliever.
Pirates love this guy. They think he's got very good stuff. Will be in their rotation eventually, probably next season. And we saw him with a long outing against the Cardinals when Liriano went out with flu-like symptoms.
And interesting that this has become a bullpen game with a Pirates bullpen that's struggling.
last year just fabulous.
And struggle may be, Dan, too strong a word. Steve Blass said, you know, these guys were so good a year ago, people think they're going to approach that level. It's just not going to happen. And he kind of likened it a little bit to where the Cardinals are now with their young arms in the bullpen. They were just so terrific last year. It's hard to repeat at that elite level.
Where it stands out for Clint Hurdle's club is that they had 15 blown saves all of last season, 15 total, and already 9, which is most in the big leagues this year.
And they're crushers when you have those.
Exactly.
Getting ready to celebrate, play your favorite music in the clubhouse. You got it all queued up, and you go home a loser.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Craig, who homered here tonight. And he strikes out for the second time. Well, as promised earlier in the game, we have the AT&T fan photo. Tweet your photos to the hashtag STL fan photo. The great Jack Buck. His statue sits right across from Ballpark Village, Clark Street. Andrew, thanks for sending that in. Did you ever work a game with Jack Buck?
Did my first game on radio with Jack Buck.
There's Peter Borges
in Atlanta. Was reminded of that when I saw Don Sutton there. You'll like this, Dan. Don Sutton came in to the radio booth 5 minutes before my first game ever, and he said, we were friends from the Dodger days. He said, let me tell you what you need to do. Think of something brilliant. Say it right away. Say it in 7 seconds and shut up.
And well, you obviously didn't learn
none of those things. But I never forgot that advice.
You do a fabulous job.
Well, Don is just really.
And I mean that.
Well, thank you, Dan. And Don is just a terrific guy to see when we go to Atlanta, and we get a chance to meet some great people, don't we?
We sure do. As Alvarez gloves, throws, and gets the speedy Borges. My first game with Jack Buck, and I had wound up doing a lot of NFL shows with him at KMOX, as you get a look at the speed of Peter Borges. And so there was a familiarity with being on the air with him. Again, you're still in awe. It's Jack Buck, having grown up in St. Louis. But the weekend before I worked with him, we were at Dodger Stadium, had all these notes. And I come in, they say, it's Mike Shannon's night at the races. There's a rain delay. The Dodgers are now in St. Louis. As you get a look at Mark Ellis. And I roll in the booth. I said, Mr. Buck, as Ellis jumps on the pitch out to deep left. And that'll hop over the wall for a ground rule double. I said, Mr. Buck, I'm ready to go. Can't wait to get this going. We're going to have a lot of fun. We sure are, kid. Let me see those notes. And so he takes the notes, looks at it, and goes, oh, this is really nice. This is great. Oh, I see what you got on this guy. And all of a sudden, you just see him tear it up into about 1 million pieces. I turn white. Okay,
I can imagine.
I'm just like, oh my good, I can't believe that I'm as nervous now as you can get. He throws all the notes in the trash can behind us, and he said, "That's not the story." He turns around and he points at the field. He said, "That's the story."
Wow.
He said, "Describe what you see for those that can't see or can't be here." He said, "We have fans all over the country. Those that do not have vision, those that are in hospitals, whatever the case may be, but describe the game." And then he went up into the back area and took a nap for 6 innings, and I did it by myself. And then he came down for the final 3.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. We got to work a lot together. It was a thrill.
I've heard pieces of that story, and you think about the great Jack Buck, and that's exactly what he did for years. Is he told Cardinal fans what they were not able to see in the greatest style, the most gentlemanly style, I would say in a fun way, and he had a great sense of humor. Obviously, anybody that ever saw him MC an event, Jack, certainly a legend.
Cardinals using John Jay here, so Walker's night is through. We also did this too. Jack would come in to do Sports Open Line at KMOX, and he'd say, "Order us some pizzas, kid." So we get the pizza going, and he'd give you a couple $100 for pizzas that cost you $15.
Wow.
And I'd say, "Okay, here's your change." "You don't get it, do you?" I said, no, Mr. Buck, put it in your pocket. Did it all the time. There was also the cleaning crew that came around at the same time every night. And I mean, they would fly into the sports office at KMOX knowing when Jack was there because the hundreds would start flying. He was unbelievable, one of a kind, and missed every day. Jay out in front, pops it up. The wind is blowing, may take it out of play, and it finds the seats. Wind has really picked up going from right to left.
We started seeing that just before it began raining earlier. We had that short rain delay, and as we talked about, the rain was coming down with Waka at the plate, and they rushed to get the tarp on, and it immediately stopped raining for about 10 or 15 minutes, and the wind really died down a bit. But when they went to take the tarp off, it started raining again, and we started to see those flags moving, and it certainly could affect the ball in the outfield. I think we saw it affect the ball there.
New life for Jay, and here's a 2-2. Lined out to left field, and on the run, making the play is Starling Marte. Jack also said at the end of his life, the Cardinals got some of the best years I've ever had. Davis and Sanchez due up for the Pirates in the home half of the sixth. We're tied up at 3-3. May 18th, kids 15 and younger entering with a ticket receive the 28-inch Matt Carpenter bat presented by Rawlings. That's a Sunday, May 18th. Cards and Braves. Cardinals.com/promotions. Beverage jug giveaway as well that weekend. Giveaways all 3 nights. And Rick's going to tell you about our Chevy call to the pen and Pat Neshek.
Been very busy, has an interesting delivery. 17 games and the ERA just over 1. So he's done a nice job. Throws a lot of strikes too, which really has been a forte of these Cardinal relievers. 1 pitch, 1 out. Got to love that.
We could see that ball just tail right in. And against right-handers, he does that a lot of times. He's able to jam that hitter and can't get it squared up. But I knew you were going to tell me that.
Did we just switch roles?
I wish we had a little fun doing these games.
I can't be you, Dan. I don't want to be you.
I don't blame you. Well, I like what I've seen out of Pat Neshek so far this year. Hard not to like it.
And the Cardinals relievers, as I was mentioning, they have the best strikeout to walk ratio of all bullpens in baseball. And they are, every one of them, guys, that just does not get in trouble with walks. You see some lean years with the Cardinals, and you just picture some of those awful games. And it's been a while now. But you just picture a reliever coming in and ball 1, ball 2, and a whole bunch of walks. But that just doesn't happen with this team. They throw hard and they throw strikes.
Neshek, by the way, 10 2/3 of consecutive scoreless innings so far. Cardinals picked him up and signed him right before spring training. They were trying to find a guy with a different look. That's lifted out to center off the bat of Ike Davis. And there's no doubt, watching Pat Neshek throw, it's a different look. Next time you're looking to pick up great seats to the game, head to StubHub. You can earn 2% back in fan rewards on every purchase, including Cardinals tickets. With all-in pricing, there are no surprise fees at checkout. StubHub, your ticket to upgrades and more. Here's Tony Sanchez. You're taking me back, Rick, to the Juan Acevedo, Gene Steckschulte, those kind of guys coming out of the pen.
Yeah, and really one after another. And some of those guys were just here for a short period of time. Some of their teammates that just, boy, you just were hoping they would throw strikes. And honestly, as a pitching coach, as a manager, if you have a reliever that you can't trust to throw strikes, you're not going to bring him in a close game, which we're looking at right here. You're not going to bring him in 7th inning and beyond. They're going to have to be a long guy and just hope that they're right that day.
I think what we're seeing too is that Neshek is relaxed. He kind of reminded me of the mannerisms of Peter Borges in spring training, real jumpy all over the place. First couple of outings he was like that too, making an impression, trying to catch on with a team. And now he is settled in and becoming a go-to guy for Mike Matheny.
He has done way more than just catch on.
Top of the lineup when we come back. Throws in here at PNC Park. Both starters knocked out. Short rain delay. Second inning of work for Genmar Gomez. What do you think? If you're Clint Hurdle, are you worried about this start right now? You're 14-20 after the great anticipation coming into this season.
Well, I think you worry a little bit. Absolutely. If you're a manager, it's your responsibility to make sure the team's playing the best way they can and that you get to play in October. That's your job. And worry may be too strong a word, but concern certainly isn't. And they've got a few holes going on right now in their rotation. The bullpen we've already talked about. Alvarez isn't hitting as consistently as he did a year ago. And I think when this team does not have Russell Martin on the field, I think they're just a different team. He did baseball-related activity, by the way, today for the first time. since his injury, so it's still going to be a while before he's back.
Hurt in the previous series against the Cardinals, played in the first game, and it was painful.
He half played, didn't he?
Yeah, really painful to watch him swing and even try to run out of the batter's box. Little squibber to third. Alvarez makes the play. Carpenter is 1 for 4. Next week, Toyota Cardinals Live pregame show, running a special series with Ozzie Smith and Jim Edmonds, calling it the gold standard. Two of baseball's greatest defensive players. This ought to be great. Talk all things defense and their best Cardinal memories. It's Ozzie and Edmonds, so mark it down. 6:30, Cardinals Live pregame show on Fox Sports Midwest. That's put together by Brad Straubinger, and it's Ozzie and Edmonds, 6:30 all week long. Can't wait to see that.
Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome.
Ozzie, considered, if not the greatest, among the greatest defensive shortstops that ever played the game. Edmonds will go down as one of the greatest defensive players ever in center field.
You heard how I introduced Ozzie at the Legends Camp. There were a lot of the special campers, the VIP campers, and Ozzie came and did a unique little thing there. But as I'm introducing, I said, you know, we wanted to get the best shortstop to ever play this game so you could really learn how this game is played. We wanted to spare no expense. We wanted to get the guy who was the king. I mean, the absolute best shortstop that's ever lived. Luis Aparicio was not available, so we got Ozzie Smith instead. And I was hoping as I looked over my shoulder that Ozzie thought it was funny, which he did, thankfully. I think.
He did. I was there. He laughed. All everybody does is laugh at the fantasy camp.
You're right. 4 days of it.
3-1 here on Johnny Peralta. In the air, center field. McCutchen back at the wall. Gone! Home run, Johnny Peralta. Sitting on a 3-1 pitch. Drives it over the wall in center. And the Cardinals go back on top with the 8th home run from the Cardinals shortstop. It's now 4-3. On base for the 3rd time tonight. Single, home run, and a walk. And 2 runs scored for Johnny Peralta.
Pitch up in the zone. And the surprising power of Johnny Peralta. The wind has actually shifted a little bit. We can see it on that shot that it's blowing to the left, but currently it's blowing a little more straight out, but you can't say that the wind helped that home run. And Peralta, as a Cardinal, half of his hits have been for extra bases. So he is proving to be a very dangerous at-bat after a slow start.
Six of his 8 home runs have come on the road. Extended his hitting streak to 7 games tonight. Holiday has been on base 3 times tonight. Pair of walks and a single to right field. Hits it on the ground to short. 2 away.
The Reds and the Rockies, by the way, Dan, are in the 9th inning. The Reds are leading that game 3-2. Nolan Arenado, with a 28-game hitting streak, has just walked in the top of the 9th inning against the reliever Jonathan Broxton. So the only way he's going to get another at-bat is if his team ties it in the 9th and it goes extra innings, because he's 0 for 3.
Looks like that'll be it for Gomez. And by the way, Arenado, longest hit streak for a third baseman since Ryan Zimmerman of Virginia. That's right. I said it just for you.
Thank you.
Plays for the Nationals, went to Virginia, as did Red Portman.
You're the best, Dan.
2009, last time that happened by a third baseman.
Wahoo, wow.
On and a left-hander in to face Matt Adams. That's Justin Wilson. Our Chevy called to the pen.
He was unhittable a year ago. ERA close to 4, and they say his velocity is down this year. You notice the high opponent's average at 292. Hard to imagine against this guy who was just lights out a year ago.
So Johnny Peralta here in early May with 8 home runs. Shift on here for Adams. Renteria, I believe, has had the most home runs ever by a Cardinal shortstop, Edgar Renteria. But even he never enjoyed a start like this in terms of power. One ball, one strike. Pirates have Tony Watson and this lefty, Justin Wilson. And from the left side, they can be awfully tough. Gomez on the hook right now. As Adams chased the ball up and fouls it back.
Colorado, we talked about how good their offense has been, did tie that game in the top of the 9th inning. Justin Morneau had a double. Could knot that game at 3. So perhaps Nolan Arenado will have another chance in extra innings to extend that hitting streak.
The strikeout of Adams. Nissan driving the game off the bat of Johnny Peralta. Over the wall in center field. The Cardinals have 2 home runs tonight. A 3-run shot from Craig and this solo shot from Johnny Peralta. Tonight, Craig and Peralta. Difference in this game. They lead it 4-3. Home half of the 7th rolls in. BJC Healthcare difference maker. We're talking about the Cardinals bullpen, and hopefully it's a difference maker tonight.
Cardinals have been outstanding in their bullpen and very few walks per 9 innings. Only the San Francisco Giants are better with just 2.33 walks per 9. Those are good numbers. Padres off to a good start, surprisingly, with their bullpen. But it'll be Martinez, we think Segrist, and then Rosenthal. But first, Martinez, our Chevy call to the bullpen, appearing in game number 17. Good numbers for Carlos.
Line drive into center. Borges coming on. Is able to keep that ball in front, thankfully for him. And Jordy Mercer is aboard with a leadoff hit.
Really, the Pirates have hit a lot of balls hard tonight, and they now have 8 hits collectively. But they've hit a number of other balls right on the nose. Gabby Sanchez, guy I thought might be the everyday first baseman this year. Mostly plays against left-handers.
Started with a platoon with Sanchez and Travis Ishikawa. Ishikawa, very good start, then was released and then signed by the Giants.
Speaking of Travis Snyder on the bench for the Pirates, who hits from the left side, but he is serving a suspension tonight and tomorrow, so unavailable.
Broken bat and a single out to shallow left center. So back-to-back hits. Let's go back to what you were talking about, Rick. When you have things that aren't going well for you, you're a young pitcher, just calming down and refocusing, taking your time, regrouping.
And you have to come to the realization that that wasn't a bad pitch. It was about belt high, but it had good movement. You jammed the hitter. A lot of good things could have happened there, including a ground ball double play. So Molina comes out, I think, to make sure you start thinking forward. I think that's the key. To have somebody, whether it's a catcher or a coach, get you thinking forward or not thinking past.
Jose Tabata. 2 hits tonight with a single in the first and a double and a run scored in the 5th. First 2 have reached against Carlos Martinez. Tabata is showing bunt. See how the Cardinals want to play it here.
This is the aggressive bunt defense, at least on that first pitch. Now Mike Matheny could change that from pitch to pitch. And that sign might come from Mike Matheny, might come from somebody else in the dugout, to Jose Oquendo, to the third baseman Matt Carpenter, who will let everybody else know.
Tabata, by the way, is 2 for 2 off of Martinez. Gets down the bunt. Runners advance to second and third. I'm not sure if Carpenter wouldn't have had a play at third base. Molina right away was saying immediately going to first base.
It was deadened well enough off the bat of Tabata that it made it not a sure thing for Matt Carpenter. And perhaps thinking, hey, we got the lead here. I don't want to be wrong about that. And Molina pointing to first. So Carpenter gets the out. And the aggressive defense I'm talking about is they had the shortstop Peralta covering third to try to get that lead runner. Now you play the infield in to try to cut this run from scoring.
This is where Carlos needs that strikeout. .100 on the gun from Carlos Martinez. Walker is 2 for 3 with an RBI.
And you're at the wrong part of the Pirates batting order. Production at the bottom of the lineup leads to this.
This season, Walker has struck out 16 times. So not a high strikeout rate.
Oddly, he's hitting better from the right side. And he almost gave up switch hitting in the offseason. But he's hitting over 400 right-handed.
Martinez has struck out 14 and 18 and a third.
How about a pop-up?
2-1.
Pretty easy to pop up a 100-mile-an-hour pitch if you can catch up to it.
Joey Votto with a walk-off homer, and the Reds win it 4-3. The 2-1 pitch. The infield is in.
Walker thinks he had a pitch to hit there. It was a breaking ball that was up a bit. Carlos Martinez really has 2+ pitches. A fastball at 100, and when his slider is right, nearly unhittable.
The 2-2. Hung it, and that's launched. Pirates back on top. First home run allowed by Carlos Martinez.
Neil Walker has been a .350 hitter from the 7th inning on. And he's just one of those guys, even if he's having a bad day, which he was not, he's still dangerous late.
Popped up. Adams makes the play. Quiet night for McCutchen. 1 for 4. Well, you talked about it. The slider, it could put you away, but in this case, he hung it. Seventh home run. 4 RBIs tonight for Walker. And here's Alvarez.
It's one of the things we were talking about in our keys to the game is not let the Pirates have a moment like that. It's a team that's been down. They've been kicked a little bit. An emotion like that could get them going.
That was one of your keys to the game. Keep them down. Well, Walker's got him back up. A long run into right. 6-4 Pittsburgh. Sports Midwest. Let's go back to our fabulous studio at Ballpark Village in St. Louis in a Bommarito Sports Update with Jim Hayes. All right, Jim, thanks. It's Molina, Craig, and Borges, top of the 8th. Still a ways to go. 6-4 in favor of Pittsburgh following the home run moments ago off the bat of Walker. Jason Grilli is not their closer right now because he's hurt. As Tony Watson, the other lefty in their pen, comes in. Chevy called to the pen. He's used kind of like Segrist is used by the Cardinals.
Agreed, and he can be really nasty. Gets a lot of strikeouts. Again, just 3 walks against 19 strikeouts. Very good numbers for him. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I think he could be a closer. Kind of has that kind of stuff as far as I'm concerned. And who knows, he may have to be if Melanson isn't the answer. He certainly has more experience in that 9th inning than Watson does.
2-1. Molina tonight. Pair of ground outs to short, also lined out to right.
Said Watson has a much better off-speed pitch down and away to right-handers, so it really doesn't matter lefty or righty too much for him.
That's pulled just foul.
But he's pulling some of these pitches across the inside corner right now to Molina.
Chases and a rare strikeout. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Craig, a 3-run homer back in the 4th. He's also struck out twice. Noticed more tonight with the catcher Sanchez going down to one knee. It's like Tony Pena, Benito Santiago. Those two used to do it all the time. There it is again. Santiago, you could see him and Pena. They'd stick out a leg and actually would sit down.
Tony would throw from there. Could throw from there. When Tony did it, it looked comfortable. Tony Pena, that is. Fun to throw to.
Craig, a base hit. Little jam shot. That's twice, and you mentioned it, how important it is for him to go to left, and while it wasn't a rocket off his bat, good to see him pull the baseball.
Yeah, I think, again, plan A is I pull it, get the head out, and don't let the ball get too deep in the zone where I'm just kind of throwing up an emergency hack. And, yeah, if the pitcher fools me, I can still go to right, but I think, he does go to right really well. But I think when he's hot, he's pulling the ball also. Borges hit the ball hard in the 4th inning.
Strike one. Triple to right center field. Also is grounded out to short and grounded out to third.
Mentioned early on, concerned about whether Sanchez would do a good job of blocking balls in the dirt. Well, he's actually done a pretty nice job of that. Mentioned his 4 errors. Last 2 times we've been here in Pittsburgh, he's been out early and they've been working on his defense, and he was having trouble throwing everywhere. And again, mentioned 4 errors already without much time behind the plate.
One ball and 2 strikes.
But he's done a nice job tonight.
Popped up and out of play. Borges It just seems like he's more relaxed. The body is quieter at the plate.
Doesn't seem as defensive with his swings.
Off-speed pitch, and he strikes out. So 2 strikeouts for the lefty here in the top of the 8th. And it brings in Mark Ellis, who nearly homered back in the 6th.
Like to see him get on base. Or perhaps Joey Butler.
Joey Butler has moved to the on-deck circle. About a month from now, Mark Ellis will turn 37. Originally drafted by Kansas City back in 1999. 10 seasons with the A's, Rockies, Dodgers. He's actually Oakland's all-time leader in games played at second base.
When I think of Oakland's second baseman, I think of Charlie Finley releasing Dick Green during a World Series because he made a couple of errors at second base. Now that's a bad day.
It's a bad day. Oakland A's.
Not go get him tomorrow, you'll be fine. You shouldn't do that, you're released.
Gone. Oakland A's today find a way to get players in. They sign them for a year, sometimes 2, and they win. I mean, right now they're the start of play, game and a half in front of Seattle in the American League West. So Alvarez is guarding the line.
Well, Carlos Martinez hung one. Maybe Watson will return the favor.
Nice play. Alvarez, what a play. Robbing Ellis. Former top pick, known for his bat, also very good with the glove. By Bud Light reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Warm night in Steel City. Rain delay of about a half hour. The Cardinals trailing in the home half of the 8th by the score of 6-4. Eric Fornatero takes over. New pitcher in for St. Louis. Starling Marte showing bunt and looks at a ball. Chevy called to the pen, the 6th appearance for Fornatero.
I think he's shown well.
Very much so. We haven't seen him pitch, though, in quite some time. I'm sure it's tough for him to stay sharp.
You have to find a way to not to use that as an excuse. Play catch as if it's a game situation. And when you throw a bullpen kind of on your own, act like you're pitching to a hitter. Simulate that you're pitching to Starling Marte. How am I going to start him out? And play that little game in your head just to try to stay sharp. I think that's one way you do it. But the other thing is, how do you handle what Carlos Martinez went through tonight? Hangs a pitch, gave up a couple of hard hit balls before that, but one pitch away from getting out of it. Hangs a slider. How do you rebound from that? How do you forget about it? Teammates can really help you with that.
3-2.
By the way, it was Mike Andrews, friend on Twitter, has reminded me, not Dick Green, who was released by Charlie Finley after a bad game. That's certainly no way to do it. I think Carlos Martinez's job is very, very safe.
Yeah, I would say so. There's a grounder left side. Carpenter has to be quick, and he makes the play. So Marte is the first out here in the bottom of the 8th. What's on Rick's radar?
Well, we've been really watching it all night. Just Arenado's hit streak that came to an end today against Cincinnati. 28 games in a row getting a hit. I mean, that's just incredible to think of that. But how much more so to think of Joe DiMaggio hitting in 56 straight games? In my mind, I can't imagine that ever being broken. Maybe it could be, but it's just crazy that you can go that long without having a bad night or facing a pitcher that just has your number.
Tough play here as Ellis was on the outfield grass, and because of that, a routine ground ball turns into a base hit for Ike Davis. Fornatero does exactly what he wanted to do. Hits the ground ball. Shift is on, and a long way to go, as you see here for Ellis.
And it's not so much because he's playing deep. It's also because he has to go so far to his right. And, you know, you might make a case for close play there. You might make a case if he's playing in more, he wouldn't have had the range to even get to that baseball. That's one of the things you live with in this game. When you do the shift, it's no sure thing. You're just playing the odds.
Now it's Sanchez with a runner at first. Cardinals have turned one double play tonight.
Pete Rose, by the way, had the National League record for the longest hit streak. That was in 1978, 44 games. Even that doesn't seem easy to reach.
Cal Ripken's streak. I don't think anybody reaches that. DiMaggio with the specialization in the game. Incredibly tough to get to that point where you have the matchups of lefty-lefty or a guy that comes in that's got a split-finger fastball, which wasn't there when DiMaggio's playing.
Many thought that Drysdale's record would be unbreakable, and then I saw it broken. Joined the Dodgers the day Oral Hershiser started his streak of 59 innings, I believe it was, without giving up a run.
In the air, left center. As Borges makes the catch for out number 2. Will we ever see a 30-game winner?
No. Unless the game changes drastically.
Bob Gibson's 68 season. Will that ERA be matched?
That's got a better chance than a 30-game winner. I mean, I'm not Las Vegas, Dan. I can't give you the exact odds, but I'm just guessing the way we use bullpens now, you're not going to get the third.
Down into the corner. Nick Label will hold up the runner at third. So base hit. As Davis is held up. Mercer, the double. As Fornatero is trying to make sure that this stays a 2-run lead for Pittsburgh.
Mercer's been hitting better lately, but he was off to a terrible start with the bat. Pitch up a little bit and just took it the other way. A lot of extra base hits in this game.
Mark Melancon, the closer, getting loose. Fastball on the outside corner. Fornatero gave up a couple of runs to Pittsburgh in the series in St. Louis. Neshek has been used. Martinez, now Fornatero. One of the concerns I would assume for the Cardinals is that Michael Wacha, as good as he's been, has not been going very deep into games.
Well, if the Cardinals don't come back, they will have lost 5 games in a row where he started, and that's almost unthinkable.
The curveball is lifted into right field. Craig is there to make the catch. The Pirates strand 2. It's 6-4. A final hope coming up for Mike Matheny's club. All right, Jim, looking forward to the post-game show with you and Cardinals Hall of Famer Jim Edmonds. Mark Melancon, our Chevy Cole to the pen. 17th appearance. He'll try to pick up the save. He was outstanding as a setup man a year ago.
Pirates only have 6 saves collectively in their bullpen in 2014. That is the lowest total in the National League. And they have had serious trouble from the 8th inning on. And Melancon, a guy who is, as we've mentioned, been a closer before, but I would say has been better in that 8th inning role than he has been in the 9th. But no Jason Grilli.
Daniel Descalso will lead it off for the Cardinals. Takes a pitch low. Descalso 1 for 7 against Melanson. By the way, Yu Darvish perfect through 6 innings against the Red Sox tonight, and he has struck out 10. Nearly threw a no-hitter against Houston last year. Here's a 1-0. 1 ball, 1 strike. Descalso trying to find traction as a pinch hitter, role player. 2 for 7 so far as a pinch hitter. Does have 1 RBI. They shade him a bit in the outfield, opposite way. Descalso hits it down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Daniel on his way to second. And he'll stop there. The tying run will come to the plate. We're back to the top of the lineup, and Matt Carpenter.
A hanger. We've seen a few of those here today. Cardinals not done yet. A lot of hits in this game for two teams who've struggled offensively.
Pirates with 12, St. Louis with 9. Neither team has committed an error. Now Carpenter. Doubled in the first inning. He has struck out, grounded out twice. 1 home run this season. Hitless in 3 at-bats against Melanson. Ground ball right side. 1 away. In steps Johnny Peralta. Earlier tonight, his 8th home run. And he's halfway to the Cardinals' shortstop record set by Edgar Renteria with 16 home runs back in 2000. That's 16 home runs by a Cardinal shortstop.
Pirate fans holding their breath right now.
Peralta 2 for 2 against Melanson. Line drive and caught by Walker. Neil Walker, a little bit of everything here tonight. Hometown product, the go-ahead home run, and this snag saves a run. Budweiser player of the game, Neil Walker. The slugger, Matt Holliday. 1 for 5 against Melanson. Time was called late. Last home run hit by Holliday was back on April 28th against Milwaukee. Cardinals came in against Pirates pitching this year, hitting .207. Tonight, the 9 hits, and the game on the line. Their outfield cannot be any deeper.
Pirates staff has given up 38 home runs now on the season. Among the worst teams in the National League in that department. How about one more?
Holliday broke his bat. Cardinals down to their final strike. This crowd, if they were sitting, they're on their feet now. They're about ready to make some big-time noise. Holiday over to get a new piece of lumber. Here's a 1-2. Stays alive. Holiday hits a ground ball to who else? Walker. 6-4 the final in game one.
That's a game that came down to the bullpens as the fireworks go off here at PNC Park, and the Pirates bullpen was better than the Cardinals bullpen here in game one.
Neil Walker, the go-ahead home run late. Pirates beat the Cardinals 6-4. Missouri Lottery. Cardinals Live is next.